the effort just hasn't been there. I think they just expected that since they did it last year, they could just walk through the East and get, a playoff spot this year. But everyone in the East got better, and they're the ones regressing, and they're the ones. Hello and welcome to the Wednesday, January 12th edition of the TV on Basketball Podcast with your host, TV. Hope you're having a fantastic day and thank you for clicking on to watch or listen to today's episode. Before we start, I do have to plug my other platforms. Remember to follow at TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for updates on the podcast and for other great content. If you're on YouTube, remember to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you will not miss an episode. For all my podcast listeners, remember to subscribe and leave a review if you're on Apple. That'll definitely get the numbers up. And as for the Spotify, Anchor, and Podbean listeners, just continue to show your support in any way possible. That would be highly, highly appreciated. I have an awesome show lined up for you guys today. We're going to be talking about things that are just going on in the NBA, including another Ben Simmons trade rumor, surprise, surprise, and also just other stuff going on in the NBA. But the main focus of this podcast is going to be making my predictions for the Allstar Reserves, as well as kind of discuss my wish list for All-Star Saturday night, because that's still part of the All-Star festivities. I'm going to talk about kind of my dream participants for the dunk contest / my realistic ones. But yeah, it's going to be a really action-packed episode. Thank you guys for the support. Again, throughout 2021, going into 2022, started a new series on TikTok as well, trying to create the best possible, trying to create kind of an NBA 75 thing, like going to each decade, using the filter again, all that good stuff. You can go check that out. And yeah, just really enjoying my time creating content and just watching some great basketball, because there definitely have been a lot of that recently. I'm going to kind of slow down a bit because school is coming up soon again, but I'm going to do my best to still produce content and, still try to entertain you guys, try to still stay on this pod grind. But yeah, it's an awesome show lineup for you guys today. Again, thank you guys for all the support. And without further ado, let's just get right into it. So sit back, relax, and let's jump into the first topic. And look, I know I said before, I'm done talking about Ben Simmons trade rumors. I've been talking about Ben Simmons trade rumors since August. We've been talking about all this, and even the possibility of him being traded before August. So this is basically been 6 months now. But there is another development in the Ben Simmons trade saga, and that is the possibility of Ben Simmons going to the Atlanta Hawks. Now, this is reported because, all the stuff that's going on in Atlanta right now, they are currently in the 12th seed in the East, which is very, very disappointing compared to what they just accomplished in the year prior. They were the number 4 or 5 seed, and they made all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. Trey Young playing at such a high level, John Collins really showing out, earning that max extension, or like near max extension, was like 5 years, 125. And that entire team from top to bottom, very, very deep, and they really showed out last year. But this year, it's really been like a whole different story. I talked about the Hawks last year and not last year, but the last week, and talked about how they're really just like regressing on all assets and all facets. Sure, the offensive rating is there, but that's highly, highly deceiving, because once Trey Young is off that court, it's just a completely different story. And the defensive rating is in the bottom 3 right now. They are currently ranked 28. So yeah, the Hawks very disappointing this season. And honestly, adding Ben Simmons to the Hawks is just gonna help raise their floor and ceiling. Ben Simmons, no matter what you think about him, he is still an all-world defender. He is a fantastic playmaker. He's going to help out on the offensive end, of course, but especially in the defensive end with the defensive ceiling, because what the Hawks are really doing right now, there's them at the 28th defensive rating, but if you just watch the games, it's really just an effort thing. And I think I mentioned this last week, I wasn't sure, but Trey Young setting the tone early on the season, saying I'm kind of bored of the regular season, I think really set a bad tone for the Hawks, because the effort just hasn't been there. I think they just expected that since they did it last year, they could just walk through the East and get a playoff spot this year. But everyone in the East got better, and they're the ones regressing, and they're the ones who were the surprise team last year. So making him move is definitely going to be a possibility. Now, what will the Hawks have to give in return? Cam Reddish is obviously going to be in the deal. He has been in trade rumors for, the last few months or so. He's been showing out for sure, and I think he's showing a lot of promise. But at the same time, when you have Trey Young and John Collins on the books, you want him to either really establish himself as that third star, or you want to bring in someone who's a bit more reliable, a la a Ben Simmons. But another aspect here that really changed this up, and really made this a real possibility was John Collins for the second year in a row complaining about his role. Now, if you remember last year, in the midst of the whole Lloyd Pierce situation, John Collins wasn't happy with his role, and he thought that he could do more for the team, and he felt like Trey Young kind of had tunnel vision and really wasn't giving him the opportunity. Well, it worked out really well in the playoffs. He looked great, especially on the defensive end, and the whole team was really clicking. And this season's kind of been a repeat of that. Sure, they have at this point last year, I think they had a worse record than they had this year, but John Collins is complaining about his role, even though he's got the big contract now. And the Hawks are really going to think about, is it a possibility? I mean, John Collins can't even be traded until, I think, Saturday, because he signed an extension with a team. But is it a real possibility to trade him? Because John Collins is a good player. Don't get me wrong about that. But he is a solid, reliable player. I don't think he's going to reach all-star level status. He may make one or two in his career. We'll have to still wait and see. But he is a good glue guy, a good number 3. And if trading him for Ben Simmons, even though I think that you're going to lose a lot, not a lot, but of course you're going to lose the spacing and all that, it does improve the ceiling of the team. It'll make their defensive ceiling a little bit higher. Hopefully that'll make him at least average. And of course, in the offensive end, he can create for him, for himself, at least getting to the paint, and also create a lot for others. So a possibility of a Cam Reddish, John Collins deal going to the Hawks definitely could be a possibility. But another aspect we have to look at with this trade is that reports now coming from The Athletic is that they want to package Tobias Harris in the Ben Simmons deal, which, fair enough. He's making a bunch of money. And along with that bunch of money, he is not playing a max level player. And they don't want to be paying a late 20s, early 30s Tobias Harris near $40 million, which is completely fair. Now, when people saw the report, they're going to be like, wow, how on earth is the Hawks going to take the $40 million Ben Simmons contract and the $30-something million Tobias Harris contract? Let's be honest, this is not going to be both of them going to the Hawks. It's probably going to be a situation where both of them are going to be ending up on different teams. There's going to be either a 3 or 4 team trade. I don't know. But at the same time, I think if the Hawks present this opportunity, I mean, obviously, if it's possible not to include John Collins and maybe throw in a Cam Reddish, a Danilo Gallinari, just a bunch of their role players to get Ben Simmons, 100% do it and kind of have that big 3. But honestly, that's going to be a very hard possibility to do so, especially with the way that Morey is kind of holding out for that elite level player. And although John Collins maybe it's not exactly what Morey's looking for, that's as close as the Hawks are going to get to making this deal done. So if it really comes down to tooth and nail, John Collins and Cam Reddish, kind of the centerpiece options to get Ben Simmons, I would do it. I still think Ben Simmons has the potential to be a top 25 player. He's really just sitting at home doing nothing right now, and I think he can really at least improve the floor, the ceiling of this team. And yeah, I mean, this Ben Simmons saga has been going on for far too long. So many teams could use him. I mean, there are rumors about the Kings maybe possibly wanting him. The potential of maybe trading him to a team like the Knicks, potentially trading him to a team. I don't know. There's a lot of teams that could use a Ben Simmons. And I'm hoping within this next month, the trade deadline is basically a month away. Hopefully we could see a deal done. But Morey's going to have to lower his price, man. He's going to have to lower his price. And this feels like a constant, a reoccurring theme here. But yeah, the saga continues. Is this a potential trade to finally move Ben Simmons? We'll have to wait and see. And the other thing is where are you going to trade Tobias Harris? Dallas possibility. I don't know. Think of maybe they need another shot creator next to Doncic. The Denver Nuggets. I don't know how much they're willing to give up for Tobias Harris. I don't know, but it's gonna be interesting to see if this actually goes through. Especially because I know one last point before we move on to the other parts. I mean, Joel Embiid right now is playing at an absolute he's playing at an MVP level. Especially over these last 10 games, he's I think averaging over 30-something points a game, basically 10 rebounds. This guy's looking like an absolute monster. You don't want to waste this year, especially because you don't know when those injuries are going to come up again. You really have to take advantage of the highest level of Joel Embiid. So let's see if the 76ers can get this deal done and at least maybe put themselves in the conversation for maybe making it to the finals once again. Let's go on to the other news going on around the league. Let's start off with some good news. Two guys signing with their teams after signing 10-day contracts. They're going to be signed for the remainder of the season. The first one being Lance Stevenson. The Pacers signed him to a 10-day contract, and he absolutely stole the hearts of Pacers fans once again. I mean, he was already a fan favorite, but then this guy was just putting up highlight play after highlight play. And in his first game back, I think he had 20-something, or in his first or second game back, he had a 20-point first quarter, which is absolutely insane. In 2021, Lance Stevenson having a 20-point first quarter. There was that happening. There's a 14-assist game happening in a win. It was been the best move that the Pacers made all year, and it really just brought some juice back to the organization. So him signing for the whole year, I mean, they still might be wanting to do the trade with the Sabonis deal. The Miles Turner deal might still be looming. But having Lance Stevenson there just at least injects a little bit of fun in this team, and I'm glad he's able to stick around because, Lance Stevenson is just a fun personality in the league, and the league is just better when Lance Stevenson is around it. Another team that actually signed one of their 10 days to the remainder of the season, the Phoenix Suns, re-signed Bismack Biyombo, and he's going to sign for the remainder of the season. Obviously, he came in because JaVale McGee and DeAndre Ayton were both in health and safety protocols. And all I gotta say is all I have to say about this is that CP3 makes every bagel good. I mean, DeAndre Ayton having a career year, 17 and 11. Chris Paul still leading the league in assists, by the way. Great year for DeAndre Ayton. JaVale McGee is becoming one of the best backup centers in the league. And Chris Paul is just setting him up on lobs and just certain things around the paint. I mean, watching that Raptors game versus them yesterday, JaVale McGee hit 2 or 3 hook shots. I mean, he just has all the confidence in the world on the Phoenix Suns. And then Bismack Biyombo, even when he was with the Suns, I think he was averaging near 10 points per game, maybe over it, as a starting center. I mean, Chris Paul just knows how to get these guys involved. He is the perfect point guard to pair with these rim running bigs, and he's getting them paid. So congratulations, Bismack Biyombo, for being in the league. Obviously, he had that run with the Raptors, which was very memorable for us Raptor fans back in 2016. It's good to see him on a team. Yeah, and he played a couple minutes yesterday against us, but I'm glad to see Bismack on a team because he can still, block shots. He still is a good rim protector, so great to see him with the Suns. The next thing I want to talk about is the Memphis Grizzlies, and I talked a lot about Ja Morant last week, but they still haven't lost since then right now. And last night, defeating the Golden State Warriors in Clay's second game back, Ja Morant just having a fantastic game once again, finishing with 29, 8, and 5. And the Grizzlies have won 10 straight. The Grizzlies have won 10 straight games, which is absolutely crazy. And that puts them, I think, right with the Jazz for number 3 in the West. And they're only 3.5 games behind the Suns and the Warriors, which is absolutely crazy. Looking at this team, I mean, if you remember my season previews before the season, I had them as kind of the surprise team this year, kind of like the Hawks last year, and I had them finishing as a 6th seed. And now even they're exceeding my expectations. 10-game winning streak. They have a 29-14 record, and they're and Ja Morant. I mean, obviously I've been rooting for him all year long, winning Most Improved, and that whole Ja for MIP thing. But this team is legit. This team is absolutely legit. They were one of the worst defenses in the league early on in the season. They're 7th now. They have a top 10 offensive rating. Ja Morant is absolutely killing it. And what's crazy about this is that they've had plenty of guys come in and out of the lineup. I mean, with Ja Morant going out, Dillon Brooks going out, coming back in, never really having that concrete rotation. And they're still playing at an absolute high level. Ja Morant averaging 25 points a game. Dillon Brooks, 18. Desmond Bain is having a career year, averaging 17.5 points a game, becoming their second option, especially when Dillon Brooks is out. Jaren Jackson Jr., 16 points a game. This team up and down the roster just works. And them trading away Valanciunas, a lot of people thought that they were going to take a step back on their team, especially just making to the playoffs last year. But that just meant more shots for people like a Desmond Bain, like a Ja Morant, Dillon Brooks. And that kind of unlocked them more. And I think now that they've got their defense figured out, no one wants to face this team in the first round, especially with the way that Ja Morant's playing right now. Absolutely fantastic. And the fact that they're even outperforming my expectations just gives me a lot of hope in this team. I'm really glad to see them do well. And just watching them is just a fun watch, man. I mean, Ja Morant hitting that and-one over Wiggins last night, talking his talk to the crowd. This team is a fun team to watch, and they're not afraid of anyone. They take the personality of their leader and they take it with them every single game. Absolutely fantastic. The Grizzlies winning 10 straight. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's super fun to watch. The Grizzlies are going to be a problem, man. They're going to be a problem for years to come. Next news I want to talk about, and this is some actually unfortunate news. Damon Willard actually might be out for the rest of the season, and it has to do with that abdomen injury. Now, if you remember, this has been bothering him since the Olympics. He explained he was having some sort of pain there in the abdomen section. And the fact that it's been carrying on until, January 12th, 2022, and the Olympics were in, I think, July, August. It's concerning that the pain is still there. So I think they're looking into it. And a lot of GMs around the league, and I think there's a report from The Athletic that actually might look like Damian Lillard would be out for the year. Now, I think this is a good year to actually tank with Damian Lillard out of the lineup, because obviously you're gonna get some. If you get a top pick, a Paolo Banchero, a Chet Holmgren, a Jalen Duran, and all that, could be a possibility of coming over, which could really help them. But this gives them the opportunity to say, you know what, this year's a wash. Let's try and get as many, at least some sort of assets back for a CJ McCollum, a Robert Covington, a Yusuf Nurkic, and stuff like that. Maybe you could start blowing it up and maybe try to prepare this team for when Damian Lillard comes back next year. A nice young core and stuff like that. Maybe that can look better. Because right now, the Trailblazers, they are in the play-in. They're 16-24 in the 10th spot in the East. In the West, they're actually 3.5 games behind the 9th seed, and they're kind of in this race for the 10th seed with the Spurs, Kings, and Pelicans. Maybe throw in the Thunder there. You could throw in the Thunder. But Damian Lillard, I mean, maybe this accelerates him, maybe getting out of Portland. But at the same time, he wants to stay. He wants to get that massive deal. And if you want to create a space for Damian Lillard to do better and shake things up, this is the perfect excuse you need. 100% the perfect excuse you need. Maybe they still might think of trading him. We'll have to wait and see. But this is a sign. Trailblazers, it's been long enough with this core. You gotta blow it up. And yeah, this has been an absolute disaster season for them. Damian Lillard started off the year kind of very slow. Kind of picked it up as of late, but now he has the injury. CJ McCollum in the collapsed lung. Hopefully he's recovering well. They need to blow this up. They really need to blow this up, and hopefully they can have an eye towards the future. But if there's one a silver lining to all this, is that Anthony Simons has looked really good in the absence of Damian Lillard. He's had 2 30-point games, and they're on a 2-game winning streak, including one win against the Nets. So good for him. But yeah, this Lillard news absolutely sucks. But at the same time, maybe this is something that the Trailblazers, that extra push they need to actually make some moves. Other things that happened in the NBA over the last week. Jaylen Green unretiring. Apparently, Jaylen Green, who has been an assistant coach for the Rockets this entire season, is unretiring and joining their G League team for a shot at a potential NBA comeback. My only thing for this is that it's great to see him back. I mean, my biggest memories of Jaylen Green are actually in a video game, NBA 2K. I thought he was an absolute beast, especially in the early 2Ks, NBA 2K 12, 13, 14. He was an absolute beast there. So it's glad to see him back in the league. And the thing is, with everyone getting these 10-day contracts, and I think I saw a stat yesterday where 110 different players have got 10-day contracts, which is absolutely crazy. Jaylen Green's probably looking at the landscape saying, if I can get a 10-day contract here, potentially get a contract for the rest of the season, it's my last big payday. So he's trying to take advantage of that, which is absolutely fine, which is absolutely good. I mean, a lot of people are taking advantage of this. The Greg Monroes of the world, Lance Stevenson, players that hasn't been in the league in a while are getting their chance here. Brandon Knight was on a 10-day. It's good to see that, and kudos to Jaylen Green for trying to come back into this. Hopefully he can find a team, and hopefully he can get that that last payday before he really officially calls it quits. A trade happened this week that was very minor, but I know a lot of people were talking about it because it included a very not well known, but a prospect where a lot of people have a lot of hope for. It's Bol Bol. It's Bol Bol. He got traded to the Detroit Pistons in exchange for Rodney McGruder and a future Nets second-round pick. He gets a chance there in Detroit. Hopefully, he actually get a chance because he does have a potential skill set that can really help a team. But I really thought about this, and I think I was on the Bol Bol train a lot 2 years ago in 2020, and I'm this guy could possibly if someone gives him a chance, could possibly really good like starting center, someone who could shoot the three, someone who could handle the ball. There's some stuff there. But what really took me off the wagon, at least for the Bol hype train, is that he's been in Denver for like what 2 or 3 seasons now, and even like he hasn't gone playing time. You know what? Fair enough. This is a really good team. They have championship aspirations. But even this season, where they're missing PJ Dozier, no Jamal Murray, they're missing a bunch of guys due to injury, and he still can't get minutes, is an indication to me that like maybe he's just not that good of a player. I know he has like a few of those highlights, like where you kind of like you're absolutely amazed with a crazy pass, a step back three, some crazy dunk. But being in the league for this long, and being in a Nugget system where Mike Malone doesn't even want to give him a chance, even when there's a bunch of guys out with injury. I mean, these guys know better than us. Maybe Bol is just not that type of player, and the fact that they got a second-round pick out of him and a potential rotation piece in Rodney McGruder, it's a W for the Nuggets. It's a low risk, like high reward thing for the Pistons. It's a good trade for both, but at the same time, I mean, people are like really excited to see Bol really get his chance. I'm not so sure about that. If he hasn't been getting time like this like over these last few years, maybe it's time to reevaluate him as a player. Maybe he's just not that great. But hopefully he gets a chance. Maybe he does find a home there in Detroit. You know, move to greener pastures. Maybe this is gonna be better for him. A few more things before we move on to the All-Star Saturday Night Wishlist. Devin Booker versus the Raptor. I wasn't going to talk about this, but this happened last night, and I felt like I had to talk about this on the pod. D-Book. The Raptors are still with no fans in the arena. I think the only fans is like a few family members of the players. If they want to come in, they have a select amount of tickets. But late in this game, Devin Booker was at the free throw line. I think it was like an intentional foul situation. The Raptors were trying to extend the game. He was going to the free throw line. He kind of botched the first one, but it still goes in. And then he goes to the security and he's like, "Hey, move that guy out the way. He's really distracting me." And I'm like, oh. In my head, I'm like, okay, so maybe like a media member is too close on the court. Maybe like he is like, maybe they're saying something, you know, whatever. But you know who it turned out to be? The Raptor. And by the Raptor, I mean the Raptors mascot. The Raptors mascot doing his job. You know, he's used to hyping up the fans. You know, doing that little thing with the little tube things to try and distract the free throw shooter. He's doing his best because he is the only one there. And Devin Booker's complaining about it. What? I mean, come on, D-Buck. The Raptors have no fans at all anyways. Why are you complaining about the one guy trying to distract you? It was funny to me. It was just extremely funny to me. And then afterwards, the Raptor actually got told to move by security. He was actually told to move. And I was like, oh, man. Come on, D-Buck. I mean, there was that whole thing with the double teaming and scrimmages and all that. And now the thing with the Raptor, I mean, Devin Booker, do better. The Raptors have very little fans in the arena. The Raptors just trying to do his job. Let him do his job, man. I mean, some people are really going over the top saying I really don't want D-Book. This is not going to change my really thoughts about him, but still. D-Book, it ain't that big of a deal. You really shouldn't be. Like, it's the one fan in the arena that's not really that big of a deal. Come on, man. You got to do better. I really hope the Raptor travels with them to Phoenix, so he could actually do his thing to try and distract D-Book at home, which would be pretty funny. And one last thing before we move on to the All-Star stuff. We're going to be talking about Dirk's retirement ceremony. It was a great ceremony, him retiring number 1, I mean, his 41 number in Dallas. It was a fun ceremony. Of course, one of the funny moments that was going around social media was Jason Kidd asking him to sign a 10-day contract because everyone's getting 10-day contracts right now. And Dirk is like, no, please. And that's fair. That's completely fair. And it was great to see Dirk finally get his moment. One of my favorite players of all time. He was someone, when I was younger, I tried to mimic all the time, especially with that one-legged fadeaway. Won that championship in 2011. This guy is just NBA royalty at this point, and is honestly one of those guys. I talk about Klay Thompson being absolutely beloved by everyone. Dirk is the same way. Everyone loves Dirk. You'd find it hard-pressed to find someone who doesn't like Dirk. And it was great that he got his honor. It was a very long ceremony. It was 40 to 50 minutes. But he absolutely deserved it, and I'm glad that he got his recognition from the Mavericks. He's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer soon, but this is definitely a fun ceremony. But the biggest thing for me to take away from the ceremony is that statue that Mark Cuban is planning to put it out in the arena. They had like a little prototype there, and they tried to show it to Dirk. It's him doing the one-legged fadeaway, which obviously that's going to happen. But what a lot of people are really concerned with, and I'm honestly concerned with too, is the ball that's leaving his hands. I mean, yes, there's one. Okay, it was him like of course doing the one-hand fadeaway, and the ball's in his hands. But they went with the really odd choice of having like the ball in its like pathway to the rim. So there's 3 balls like trying to create the pathway, and a lot of people look at it, and I couldn't help but think the same thing. They kind of look like anal beads. It looks really, really odd. Sorry for people who find it really uncomfortable, but they really do. And I'm like, look, man, if you're gonna have a statue like outside of the arena for Dirk, 100% do it. I'm all for that. We don't need the 3 balls. We see the one-legged fadeaway. We know exactly what he's doing. You can keep the ball in his hands. It's just get rid of that. Just get rid of that. That was just I don't want to see that and have that associated with Dirk. Please, I mean, they have time to change it. They haven't started making like the big one yet. So please, Mark Cuban, please switch it up, because that is something that we just do not want to see. But yeah, those are all the news in the NBA. Let me know down below your thoughts on this. And we're going to move on now to my All-Star Saturday Night Wishlist. And obviously there's the 3 competitions there, the 3-point contest, the skills contest, and the dunk contest. And I'm basically going to go through and kind of talk about, hopefully it's not going to be too long, but kind of like my dream field for the team. The dunk one, I'm going to, I think for the 3-point one and the skills one, these are all possibilities, because a lot of people are just like, you know what, I'll do it, why not? But for the dunk contest, some people are saying that they're out, that I want to be in, and stuff like that. So I'm going to give kind of my dream contest for that, but also my more realistic contest. But yeah, for the 3-point and skills contest position, even though these are it's not something that you really want to see, but it's going to be most likely going to happen. It doesn't take much to convince these guys to participate in these challenges. And the first one I want to talk about is the 3-point contest. And there's usually 6 guys in the field. And I think that there's a lot of great shooters in this league, and I think that this could be a really fun field. Okay, so here are my 6 guys. We have to have the splash players in there. Clay and Steph. Steph won it last year. We need him defending his title, and now that Clay's back in the league, him and healthy, he's not going to be part of the All-Star game for sure. Let's have him in the 3-point contest. Have that Splash Brothers competition once again. I think they did it 3 or 4 years ago, which is really fun, and I think Clay got the best of Steph on that one. So it would be nice to see them compete again. So those are my 2 first competitors. The next one I want to see in this contest this year, Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet is having a career year from 3. He is hitting ridiculous shots. At some points, Steph level shots for Fred VanVleet. He's 41% from 3 this season. He's been absolutely a joy to watch, and I think that he would be really fun in the 3-point contest. And hopefully he makes the All-Star game too, because that would be a great weekend. At least having a representative from the Raptors there. Another person I want to see here, Trey Young. Trey Young is an absolute bomber from 3. And just him being a part of it with Clay and Steph there, with Fred VanVleet, I think he would be a great addition. He's already a great shooter, so it would be great to see him in this contest. I think the only issue I might have with that is that I think he was in the 3-point contest in the past and he didn't do that great. I think he's a better kind of off-the-dribble shooter, but I would like to see him back in the contest. Someone else who I think has won it before, and I want to see him back because he is having a career year from 3 as well, Devin Booker. Devin Booker in the 3-point contest would be absolutely fantastic. Sure, he struggled with the Raptors yesterday, and I just kind of bashed him for complaining about the Raptor, but he is a great shooter. He has a fantastic release. I love watching him shoot. I think he would be a great addition to this contest, and it would make it such a good field. And the final guy, throw a big man in there. Let's throw in Karl Anthony Towns. He made the claim early on this season saying that he is the best 3-point shooting big man of all time. Yes, he said that. So having him in this contest, you know what? Prove it. Try to win the 3-point contest as a 7-footer. It'd be great to see it. I think he'll do pretty well. But it would just be great to see him against all these smaller guys. I want to see him try to compete in this. So that is my dream 3-point field. I mean, the thing I said about the compared to the dunk contest and the skills contest, especially the dunk contest, it's not gonna take much to convince these guys to go into 3-point contest. A lot of these guys like to shoot. I think that's something that that fans want to see too. I think this is honestly, even though it's my dream field, I think it's also very, very realistic. The skills contest, we're not going to go too long on this. It's basically the 4 bigs and the 4 smalls. It's hard to even differentiate them at this point, but here's just the 8 guys I want to see in this contest. Nikola Jokic, I think he won it last year or the year before. I want to see him back in this contest. That would be really, really cool, like really, really fun. Triple J, someone who has actually like handled the ball a lot for the Grizzlies this year, a good passer. I want to see him in this contest. Again, I might be showing a bit of my bias, but I want to see a Raptor there on either Scotty Barnes or Pascal Siakam. Pick one or the other. They're both like forward/power forwards and stuff like that. So having them in the contest, I think, would be good. Giannis, I just want to. I'm not sure if he's been there or not. I have to triple check, but just him and those dribble moves and stuff like that, like just trying to get around the cone and stuff, I think it'd be very interesting. And now that he's like more confident taking the 3-point shot, maybe he can actually compete with those guys for that, like in that final shot part. So that'd be fun. One of the skills challenge legends I think should be here as the first guard, Chris Paul. If just keep putting him in, it's really fun. Like he's someone that can really compete with some of these, like young guys, and he's won it before, so he definitely has experience. I want to see him back in this contest. LaMelo, I am not 100% sure if he was in it last year. Honestly, this contest is very, very not very memorable, but I think LaMelo Ball would be a fun addition there. Cade Cunningham, if you want to show some love to the rookies, have Cade there. He can dribble the ball, a decent passer. I think he'd be a good addition to the field. And also Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The biggest question here is that how much people does the NBA want to bring to All-Star Weekend, especially with the whole Omicron thing happening right now. Maybe they want to limit contact and have maybe just like a select few guys, especially just guys already there because of the All-Star game and the Rising Stars game do it. So maybe convincing someone like Shai is going to be an issue, but at the same time, I would like to see him in this field. And he probably would say yes, why not? So yeah, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is my final addition to this field. If there's anyone you want to see here, it would be really fun. I mean, obviously there's going to be some meme ones like a Boban Marjanovic that would be really interesting to see here. But in terms of like good, like actually like good dribblers and passers, stuff like that, let me know down below who would you want there. And finally, the dunk contest. The dunk contest is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I mean, last year's was pretty trash, not going to lie. I think it was like, Cassius Stanley, Obi Toppin, and Anthony Simons. Yeah, it wasn't a great contest. And the thing is, there's so many great dunkers, and I want to, here's my dream field. This is the thing I want to discuss first, because my dream field for this contest would be one, Zach LaVine. Obviously, he's done it before. He's a great dunker. One of the best dunkers in the league. It would be great to see him back in it. John Morant, I think obviously everyone wants to see him there, wants to see what he could do. But I think he's made it abundantly clear that he's never going to join. Aaron Gordon, I think he's just retiring from the contest because he's been screwed over too much. So, and Anthony Edwards. And I think this is the only one kind of realistic one to have there. He's going to be there for the Rising Stars challenge. So him being part of the dunk contest, him having kind of that repertoire of dunks, I would love to see him in the dunk contest, and I think that he would be super down to do it. That's my dream field, but at the same time, I do think that the 3 of the 4 is going to be highly unlikely that they're going to join. But I still would if that happens, I think everyone would be super duper hype. But if you want to go for the more realistic one, I do still think there's a good chance that Anthony Edwards does join. But if you want to have a decent field and kind of use people that probably will say yes to it. One, Anthony Simons. He's gonna have to defend his title, right? It's always nice if there's a possibility to have someone who won last year defend the title. It's always good. So Anthony Simons, you can come in there. Anthony Edwards, I said already. Even though I think he's part of my dream dunk contest, I think he is the one guy that actually would say yes to this. Someone else, a rookie, I think we could throw in here, Jaylen Green. He's known as an outside shooter, but he has shown some bunnies in the regular season. I think that he is I think he would actually be a lot better dunk contest dunker than he would be an in-game dunker. So I would like to see someone like Jaylen Green join. And then Jared Jones Jr. He hasn't been in the contest for a while. He won it that year. I think the last year where Aaron Gordon got snubbed. It would be great to see him back. I think he still could have a good chance to defend his title. I would like to see Derrick Jones Jr. there. I hope it's a really fun contest. Saturday night, they kind of put the Saturday night festivities into the Sunday. And the 3-point contest was absolutely fire. The 3-point contest never fails to disappoint. And the skills challenge, honestly, was the second most fun event of that evening. But the dunk contest, it's always either going to be the best thing of the night or the worst thing of the night. There's no in between for that. So hopefully we can have a really good contest this year. I think there's a lot of great opportunities here. Getting a Jaylen Green in there, getting some more exposure. Derrick Jones Jr. I think that they could create a really good contest with the people that they have. But yeah, those are my All-Star Saturday Night players I want to participate in the events. Let me know down below if there's anyone else that you want to see in these events. Obviously, the dunk contest is going to be a lot harder because some people already said no. But if there are any other low-key dunkers that I haven't even discussed here, put it down. I would like to see kind of the next Cassius Stanley possibility or something like that join the dunk contest. Let's move on to the final segment of the show. And I talked about earlier on, we're going to be making my picks for the All-Star Reserves. Now, the way I'm going to choose these is the typical ballot. 2 guards, 3 forwards, and 2 wild cards. So, any positions. We're going to be doing that for the East and the West. I'm going to give a small explanation for each of the players and why I think each of them should be on here. And I'm going to tell you, it's been pretty tough. And especially, for both the East and West, there's some guys, because of position, I was thinking of adding, but I really couldn't because of positions. But that's fine, and we're going to have to work around that. And I think this is going to be really, really interesting because there are a lot of guys you can make the argument for. This is the year where I feel not 100% sure that I'm going to have the exact right picks. But I still think that these are the guys who are most deserving. Just a recap for my starters last week, they didn't change. Zach Levine, starting with the East, Zach Levine at the guard position along with DeMar DeRozan. In the 3-4 positions, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, and Joel Embiid. Those are staying the same even a week later. In the West, Steph Curry, John Morant, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, and Rudy Gobert. All of them are staying the same in the West. So those guys who I think are all starting are not going to be included here. If you want to check out my full explanations for my starters, check out last week's episode. And let's get right into this. Last week I started with the West. Let's start with the East this week. And for my first guard position, I already talked about it last week. James Harden. He was already in my discussions for being a starter. Started off slow for sure, but as of the last month or so, he's definitely picked it right back up. 22 points a game this season, 9.7 assists, second in the league to Chris Paul, 8.1 rebounds. The percentages are not there, but James Harden is still James Harden, a big part of the Brooklyn Nets team. He's a perennial all-star. He's going to get in here. He's just one of those guys where it's no matter what, it's not like he completely fell off and his team is still number 1 or 2 in the East. He's still he's in the mix. He's still one of the best players in the league. He's 100% going to make it. Next player I'm going to have here, and you can also make the argument for this guy to make it to the starters. Trey Young. I know I was bashing the Hawks earlier, but like I said earlier, without Trey Young on the court, this team would be absolute garbaggio. And Trey Young this year averaging 28 points a game, 9.6 assists, 4 rebounds, 45% from the field, 37% from 3, and almost 90% at the line. Putting up ridiculous numbers, and like I said, without him, the Hawks would be absolute garbage, even worse than they are right now. Trey Young is still one of the best point guards in the league, and he's just going to continue to grow at such a young age. He's having a better season at this point than he did last year, which he did get snubbed for the All-Star game. So this year, no snubs here. Trey Young 100% deserves to be here. Now for the East forwards, this one is actually pretty tough because honestly, I'm not confident in all these picks, but I have to really just stick with this because you have to have 3 forwards there. The only 100% lock I have for the forwards position here for the East is Jarrett Allen. Jarrett Allen of the Cleveland Cavaliers is having a career year, and him being a part of the Cleveland Cavaliers who have shocked a lot of people, have currently the 23-18 record, number 6 in the East. He deserves it, especially because this Cavs defense is absolutely elite now. They're number 3 in defensive rating. And Jarrett Allen's having a career year, averaging 17 points a game, 11 rebounds, almost 2 assists, 70% from the field. And he's obviously great at blocks, 1.5 blocks a game. He he is someone who for the majority of his career was thought of as a rim runner, but he's added more to his offensive game this year. They're throwing it to him in the post, and he's just a great defensive player. And now his his true worth is being shown on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he's a great player. He's an absolute great player, and the only time he's missed this year is because of health and safety protocols. So he's been relatively healthy this year. So yeah, for someone on one of the better teams in the East, and they deserve an All-Star 100%. Give me Jared Allen, especially with the forward position being kind of iffy there in the East. Having Jared Allen there, 100%, he deserves it for me. Now, my second almost lock is someone who's having a great year. The only problem is he wasn't held in safety protocols, but he's also missed a lot of time due to injury, and that's Jimmy Butler. Only played 23 games this year, which is just over half. And this year he's averaging great numbers: 23 points per game, 5.5 assists, 6 rebounds, 50% from the field, 87% at the line, 2 steals a game. Jimmy Butler is that guy, and if he played honestly 5 or 6 more games, he would be an absolute lock for me. But this ankle injury now, he had the butt injury earlier on the season. He's missed a lot of games, and those games are not due to COVID, So, but at the same time, this year, because of the whole COVID thing, injuries and time missed does mean kind of a bit less to me. And the fact that Jimmy Butler, Butler's team is third in the East right now, 25-15, and Jimmy Butler is still a huge part of that. I have to put him in. Jimmy Butler is a All-Star lock for me. Then for this final 4 position, and this is where I wish, there was position there's no positions on the bench and just have the 7, reserves, because here I was either Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown should make it, and while I was making this list I was okay, I'm gonna go Jaylen Brown. But if you look at the All-Star ballot, Jaylen Brown is a guard, so I'm oh wait, he's not a forward, damn. So I had to go with Jason Tatum. I wanted to put Jaylen Brown there over him. And there was no chance I was putting 2 Celtics, especially under 500. They had a pretty disappointing season. And I was it's either going to be Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. And because I had to, I got to go with Jason Tatum. 25 points a game this year, 8.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 42% from the field, 32% from 3, 84% at the line. And I want to go with Jaylen Brown because he's just been a lot, firstly, healthier. He's been more consistent, and I think honestly he's been the better player for them this year, especially because Tatum's efficiency numbers has dropped down significantly compared to his other years. I mean, I think Jaylen Brown has actually played less than Jason Tatum, but at the same time, Jason Tatum has been a lot more disappointing. The Celtics don't deserve 2 All-Stars whatsoever because of how kind of poorly that they're performing right now. Jason Tatum, though, because it's a forward, I think one of them, him or Brown, should make it. But I'm going to have Jason Tatum in there. He's still a fantastic player, and he's definitely have picked it up as of late, especially in the last month or so. The Celtics really need to turn their season around, and Jason Tatum's production is going to be a big determining factor of that. But he's still putting up crazy, crazy numbers, and Jason Tatum is still a top 15 player in the league. So I have to show him some love either way. Give me Jason Tatum at that final 4 position. And like I said, if it's going to be Tatum or Brown, if not, none of them are going to make it. Moving on to my 2 wildcard positions, and this is where it gets interesting. Because honestly, in my opinion, it came down to 4 guys for me, and 2 of them are not going to make it. The 4 guys I have here, and actually I'm going to talk about the 2 people that just missed out for me. The first one, Darius Garland. Darius Garland, honestly, I think this is a matter of position again, because if I had to choose between Jared Allen and Darius Garland, I mean, I would like Jared Allen in there because you do need some forwards there. But Darius Garland has just as much of a case as Jared Allen, because averaging almost 20 points a game, 7 assists. He's been their most reliable guard all season long. He's a great player, and I think him taking the next step is a big reason why the Cavs have been playing so well. Darius Garland continues to play at a high level. I just think that there's just a lot of guards to choose from, and I think he just misses out for me, which is highly unfortunate. And I think he has just, honestly, him and this, last guy I have here, in the wild card position could really, you can go back and forth with them. But I just have Darius Garland missing out. The other guy I was thinking about, who's probably not going to make it, Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday has been absolutely elite on the defensive end this year, 18 points a game as well on the offensive end, almost 7 assists, almost 5 rebounds. 50% from the field, basically 38% from three, 70% at the line. I think he has a bigger chase than Chris Middleton this year. I think he's been a better player than Chris Middleton this year. He just misses out as well. Giannis is already in the starting lineup, but having two Bucks there, I think he definitely deserves it. He definitely is playing at an all-star level. But again, it's just like a problem with just having too many guards in the East to choose from. So now, going on to my final two wildcard positions. The first one, and for me, someone who I was hoping would make the All-Star team, and I think over the last 10 games or so is really cementing himself in that race. Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet is going to make it the All-Star game. I'm not even joking here. He's averaging career high numbers across the board, and his efficiency has definitely gone up. 22 points a game this year. He's averaging almost 7 assists a game, 6.6, 5 rebounds a game, 44% from the field, 41% from 3, 88% at the line. Freddie All-Star is a real thing, and him taking over the Kyle Lowry role and doing it to such a high level is absolutely fantastic. And the one thing holding Fred VanVleet back, I think, even before this whole Freddie All-Star thing was a possibility, especially, was that the Raptors record. And now that the Raptors are over 500, yes, they lost to the Suns yesterday, but it was a damn good fight. They're 2 games over 500. They're 8th place in the East. You can't say that the record's not going to stop Fred VanVleet because the record is there. And Fred VanVleet has clearly been the best player for them, putting up career high numbers everywhere. It was a dream for sure a couple weeks ago, but now that he's even playing even better, you got that 37-point triple-double. You have that 32-point game against the Pelicans to help improve his case. He is, for me, an all-star this year, and it's something that, like I said, a few weeks ago, if I said it, a lot of people would not agree with me. But now that he's in here and he's actually established himself as the best player in Toronto, and now that the Toronto is in a play-in spot, top 8 spot, he definitely deserves it. He's done so much for this team, and literally there's a reason why he's number 1 in the league in minutes, because the Raptors are absolutely horrible without him on the floor. So, yeah, Fred VanVleet, he occupies my first wildcard spot. No questions there. The second one, it was literally between this guy and Garland, but I got to go with this guy because the Charlotte Hornets have actually surprised a lot of people, 22-19 so far this season, and I think they deserve one All-Star. Give me LaMelo Ball. And this guy this season has taken a nice step in his game, averaging 19 points a game, 7 assists, 7 rebounds, 43% from the field, 38% from 3, 87% at the line. LaMelo Ball is an absolutely fantastic player. He is must-watch TV. One of the big reasons why the Hornets are one of the most fun teams to watch this season. And honestly, he does it, he does well against very good teams. He does it he just has been extremely consistent this year and has taken himself to that near superstar level. LaMelo Ball has just been that good. Especially over this past few days, they beat the Milwaukee Bucks twice, the defending champions. And LaMelo Ball was a big reason for that. So you could see him perform against the big dogs in the league, and him putting up just consistent numbers. He's been absolutely fantastic, and although I think that Darius Garland means more to the Darius Garland is more impactful for the Cavs than LaMelo is for the Hornets, I think that having a Hornet in there is completely valid for this All-Star Reserves list. So give me a LaMelo Ball. Have one guy from the Cavs and Jared Allen, and have one person from the Hornets and LaMelo Ball. I think that's about fair. Having 2 Cavs in there and having no Hornets for me doesn't kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth. So putting in LaMelo Ball, I think, is for me is valid. Is absolutely valid. But if you put Darius Garland there too, I'm not mad. I'm not mad whatsoever. Let's move on to the West. Let's 100% move on to the West now. And yeah, this one I think was a lot easier than the East because there's a lot more people I could have chosen for the East. I have a couple more honorable mentions actually before we move on. Sabonis, was thinking about him, but the Pacers kind of trash record, and Sabonis has done this every year, but they're not playing well. And then Bradley Beal, I mean, he's having a good season, but I think him playing well and the Wizards really going down the standings is kind of emblematic of what Beal's time there with the Wizards is. I might get some hate for that, but Bradley Beal's still putting up good numbers. I mean, he started off slow, but he's getting better now. But seeing that the Wizards record's going down I don't know, that could be an indicator or something. You could take that information as you will. But moving on to the West, I think this one's a bit easier. Again, with the guard situation, I think it's a bit tough. And I had some problem with the forwards as well, but I'm still pretty confident in this list. Let's get right into it. Starting off with the first guard this season, give me Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell playing for a Utah Jazz team, number 3 in the West right now, and they are currently the best offense in the league by far. Still a very good defense. It's kind of dropped off lately because Rudy Gobert has not been there, so the defensive rating has definitely gone down. But Donovan Mitchell having a fantastic year, 26 points a game, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, and his efficiency is getting a lot better from his earlier years, 45% from the field, 35% from 3, 88% from the free throw line. He's a very good player. He is the focal point of the Utah Jazz offense, and them being number 1 in the league in offensive rating, them being a top 3 seed in the West, warrants them to have another player there. And Donovan Mitchell being one of the best guards in the West, 100% this year. He's a very good player, and I think people really underrate him, and especially in discussion for the best shooting guards in the league. He's definitely in the mix, but he's 100% making this list. He is my first guard. My second guard, man, we're talking a lot about Suns players today because we're talking about Devin Booker. Devin Booker, for me, is someone who 100% has to be in the All-Star game this year. No snubs, no nothing. Devin Booker is used to that, but this year, he 100% deserves it. 22 points per game, 4.5 assists, 5.5 rebounds, 44% from the field, almost 41% from 3. And the biggest development for his game is that he's not taking as many shots as he has in previous years. He's becoming more of he's more comfortable facilitating the basketball. And now he has a reliable 3-point shot at almost 41% on the season. I mean, that's elite now. We know Devin Booker was a good shooter, but the percentages really didn't fall in his favor. But he's taking a big jump this year, and I think that is a big reason why he's become more of a catch-and-shoot player, because he's become just more reliable in that aspect. I mean, if you look at his 3-point percentage from the fast pass, I mean, he had 30% in his third season. But obviously, it wasn't as in as many attempts. Now he's averaging 6 attempts per game, and he's shooting almost 41%. A lot better for Devin Booker, and he 100% deserves to be here. Suns' best record in the league, our second best record in the league at this point. Give me Devin Booker to be my second guard. Now the forwards. The forwards, again, definitely a lot of choices you can go here. My one lock for sure is Draymond Green. And it's funny because Draymond Green does not have double digits in any of the assists, rebounds, or points category. But his impact goes beyond the stats. And that's just something you hear about Draymond Green over and over and over again, because it's just true. Draymond Green, one of the best, he makes that Warriors team work. On the offensive end, he sets everything up. He knows how to get Clay and Steph into best positions. And he is the defensive anchor on that team. Now, like I said, the stats are nowhere close to all-star level for sure. But people who know basketball, people who watch the best teams, know that Draymond Green, there's no one like him in the league. Someone who is so, impactful on both ends. Kind of the focal point of both, in the sense where he's the one setting everything up for the offense. He's telling everyone what to do on the defensive end. His impact goes beyond the numbers. And that's really the story of Draymond Green's career. And he 100% deserves to be in this year, especially being the front runner for me for Defensive Player of the Year. He occupies my first forward position. Now, this next position, the next forward position, I have someone who actually has definitely one of the best forward seasons in the West. My only issue with him is that he's missing a lot of games as well, and we don't know when he's going to return or if he will return by the All-Star game. And that's Paul George. 26 games played this year, 24, almost 25 points per game this year, 7 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 43% from the field, 32% from 3, 88% at the line. He kind of has a Jimmy Butler case. I mean, both have Jimmy Butler has played 23 games this year. Paul George has played 26. They're kind of right there for me, but at the same time, I think Paul George has, especially early on in the season where he was absolutely on fire, him playing that well earlier on is really carrying him for another All-Star appearance. And he's been in the All-Star game especially recently, year after year. He just become a staple in the All-Star team, and especially if he's ready to play for the All-Star game, he 100% deserves to be in there. He 100% too. Still a great defensive player, leading the Clippers early on in the season to a good record. I think they got him up to like 6th or 5th in the West. Hopefully he comes back soon, but I think he's done just enough. Like I said, injuries stuff like don't really matter as much to me this year as in previous years. So give me Paul George at that second forward position. My last forward. This is definitely interesting because if Anthony Davis didn't get injured, this could have possibly went to Anthony Davis. But even still, he was having a disappointing year. And honestly, I like this guy's performances this year compared to Anthony Davis. So give me Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns has the Timberwolves at the number 9 seed this year. And he's having a fantastic season, averaging 24.6 points per game, almost 4 assists, 9 rebounds a game, 51% from the field, 42% from 3, 81% at the line, and a steal and a block a game. I mean, he's not a bad defender. He is not a bad defender, and the Timberwolves are actually pretty decent on defense this year. He's become a focal point of their offense once again. He is he's their best player on that team. And he's having a very good year as well. I mean, last year after what was going on with him and like people he lost to COVID, I was expecting like a good bounce back year. Now that he's kind of like refreshed and all that, and he's having a fantastic year as well. The numbers are there. The Timberwolves have some sort of success, and he is a big reason of that. He is occupying my last forward spot. I was expecting him, like, especially if he has success and the numbers still backing it up, he could be a perennial All-Star in the near future. I think this is going to be his first year, or is this his second year? I think this is his second year making the All-Star team. Now, the 2 wildcard positions. Again, this was a tough one. Anthony Davis was like a potential for making like my final forward position, but he was not in consideration for the 2 wildcard spots. And honestly, these are all guards I had to choose from. My 3 honorable mentions for guard that could possibly get in here. DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murray having a career year, basically averaging like 18, 8, and 8 or something like that. He's having a fantastic year for the Spurs. The Spurs have not been as bad as we thought they were. And he has been the best player on that team, doing it extremely well on both ends of the court. He was definitely in the running. Damon Willard, I mean, he's just one of those guys where it's like, it's the legacy vote. He's been there like how many times now? I think like 6 or 7 seasons in the All-Star game. He was kind of a staple, but him like missing out on injury and now that he might miss out the whole year, I don't think he's going to be able to make it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, my only concern with him is that yes, he definitely has like a case for him, but last year was better, and he still couldn't make it last year, unfortunately. I think that he's kind of regressed this year, like in terms of numbers, but he's still a fantastic player. It's still the best player in the Thunder. You could definitely make the case for him. But honestly, there's 2 just 200% people here for the wildcard spot, so I'm like, yeah, these 2 have to be in. First one being Chris Paul, the second Suns player in the All-Star game for me. The numbers, you look at the numbers, averaging 14 points a game, 10.1 assists, 4 rebounds, 47% from the field. Kind of low from 3 at 32% and 83% at the line, which is actually kind of low for Chris Paul as well, who we're accustomed to seeing him being a 90% free throw shooter. But his impact on the Suns is second to none. He's still a great defensive point guard. He is just, like I mentioned earlier, he gets these big men paid. The Andre Ayton, 17-11 career year. JaVale McGee, one of the best backup centers in the league, and he also helped Bismack Biyombo get a contract. This impact is still huge for the Suns on both ends of the court, helping improve that team in every aspect. He is the ultimate point guard. He is the ultimate leader. I talk about Chris Paul, especially like over the last 7-8 months now, because of how much the success he's helped brought to the Phoenix Suns organization. And he's continuing this year, and there's no doubt in my mind he's 100% gonna make the All-Star team this year. And then for the final wildcard spot, this guy is gonna be a perennial All-Star. Is he kind of having a kind of down year? Yes, but he's starting to pick it back up, and his team success is finally to pick up as well. His team is on a 6-game winning streak. This guy, I mean, it's Luka Magic, man. Luka Doncic occupies my final wildcard spot, averaging 25 points a game, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, 44% from the field, 32% from 3, 72% at the line. I mean, it's Luka. It's Luka Doncic. He's still the number 1 guy there in Dallas. He kind of started off slow this year, but he's starting to pick it up. The team is finally having some success at number 5 in the West, 22-18 record. Luka Doncic is just that guy, and the fact that even though he's kind of missed some games, he's actually played only 25 games this year. I mean, compared to even people like the Paul Georges and the Jimmy Butlers. But he's healthy right now. He's definitely playing more games. It's great to see him out on the court. It's Luka Doncic. I mean, need I say more? He does so much for that team, and is the focal point of what they do. And on the offensive end, We know how good Luka Doncic is. Even though it's kind of a down year for him, it's still not enough for me to take him out of the All-Star game. Give me Luka Doncic to fill out that final wild card spot. But yeah, quick recap of all the reserves I have. In the East, Trey Young and James Harden at the guard positions. Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum, and Jared Allen filling up the forwards. And then my two wild cards, Fred VanVleet and LaMelo Ball. In the West, we got Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker as the reserve backcourt. Then we got Draymond Green, Paul George, and Karl-Anthony Towns filling out the forward positions. And then my two wildcard spots, Luka Doncic and Chris Paul. Agree or disagree, let me know down below. I would like to hear your reserves, even your starters, because they haven't even been announced yet, but let me know what you guys think. Agree or disagree, let me know down below. Drop a like and all that good stuff. I'll DM me on Instagram. I could definitely debate this stuff with you there for sure as well. But yeah, I think that's working on today's episode. Thank you guys for watching or listening. Remember to show love on all the podcast channels. Like, share, subscribe if you're on YouTube. And remember to hit the notification bell so you won't not miss an episode. And remember to follow TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for some great content and to get updates on the podcast. I'm going to be back next week to talk about my mid-season awards because we're basically at the midway point of the season. And yeah, just excited to get more NBA content out there for you. Thank you guys for all the support, and I hope to continue this going on a weekly basis. And just excited to watch more NBA basketball because we're getting into that season where trade talk season, mid-season awards, all-star snubs and all that coming up soon. It's going to be a lot of stuff for great content, and I'm excited to provide that for you going forward. But yeah, this is the end of today's episode. Thank you guys for all the support. Hope you have a fantastic day. This is TV signing out. Take it easy, guys. Peace.